You are standing on a quiet beach in Japan in 1803 when something round appears in the surf. It is not a normal boat, not even close. It looks more like a bowl, a capsule, or a wooden pod with windows, which is not exactly what you want to see bobbing toward your village before breakfast. The villagers drag it onto the sand, peek inside, and find a young woman no one recognizes. She speaks a language nobody understands. She refuses to let go of a small box. Strange marks cover the vessel. And after all that, the people on the beach make one very unnerving choice. They send her back out to sea. So what exactly drifted ashore that day? This is the story of the Utsuro-Bune, usually translated as the hollow boat. And here is the part that makes it so hard to forget. It was not first told as an alien encounter. There were no flying saucers, no little green men, and no modern UFO language. Nobody was standing there saying, well, this is clearly a close encounter, because that would have been a very confusing thing to say in 1803. But if you hear the details now, it feels weirdly familiar, almost too familiar, like a 200-year-old legend somehow wandered into the same room as modern UFO stories and decided to sit down. If you live on that coast in the early 1800s, the sea is already a delivery system for problems, storm wreckage, lost boats, strangers, news you did not ask for. Japan in the Edo period is not completely cut off from the world, but foreign contact is tightly controlled. So a sealed craft with an unknown passenger is not just interesting, it is dangerous. It could mean disease, it could mean scandal, it could mean smuggling, or worst of all, it could mean questions from officials, which in any century is a terrible hobby. The best-known version places the event in 1803 on the coast of Itachi Province, northeast of Edo, the city we now call Tokyo. The craft is described as round, several meters wide, with a lower section protected by metal plates. The upper part has windows, sometimes described as glass or crystal, sealed with resin, a sticky material used to close gaps and keep water out. Inside, the woman is young, elegant, and clearly foreign to the villagers. Different hair, different clothes, different voice. She clutches a box and refuses to let anyone touch it, which is exactly the kind of detail that turns a strange arrival into a legend. Because apparently, every good mystery needs one object that screams, "Do not open me," while making everyone desperately want to open it. The vessel itself gets stranger the longer you look at it. Some accounts say there is bedding inside. Some mention water and food. Some describe odd writing or symbols on the walls that none of the locals can read, and that matters because the story is not just a woman washed ashore. It is a woman arrived inside a sealed little craft that looked built for a journey from somewhere beyond the local world, not beyond Earth, just beyond the map in people's heads. At least, that is how the story works at first. Now here is where we have to be careful. What we have are not official case files. They are later written accounts from the Edo period, including strange story collections like Ton Shosetsu in the 1820s and Ume no Chiri in the 1840s. In other words, this is not the 1803 version of a police report. It is closer to a book of curious incidents, rumors, sketches, and "you are not going to believe what washed up on this beach" material. That does not make it worthless. It just tells us what kind of evidence we are holding. And this is exactly why the Utsuro-Bune feels both historical and slippery at the same time. Edo readers loved strange tales. They collected them, copied them, and argued over them, because apparently people have always enjoyed saying, "Okay, but what if this actually happened?" A story could begin with a real event, then grow extra details the way a snowball grows snow. By the time it lands in a printed book, you are not always looking at pure invention or pure fact. You are looking at something in between, a local oddity filtered through memory, gossip, fear, and the natural human instinct to make a weird story just a little weirder. So why does it sound so much like a UFO story today? Because the ingredients line up almost perfectly. A sealed round craft, unreadable markings, a lone occupant with unusual features, a group of witnesses who cannot communicate with her, fear about contamination, danger, or some forbidden rule nobody fully understands. And then the final move. The community chooses not to bring the unknown in. It pushes it back to the edge of the world. Show that list to a modern audience raised on flying saucers, and their brains light up like a documentary thumbnail. But if you put yourself back on that beach, alien spacecraft is not the first explanation available. Foreign castaways were real. Unfamiliar ships were real. Reports about Russians and Europeans circulated in coastal Japan. Western vessels used glass, metal fittings, and designs that could look deeply strange to people who had never seen them up close. Imagine seeing unfamiliar technology without YouTube, Wikipedia, or some guy in the comments explaining it badly. A foreign woman with unusual hair, clothing, and language is not automatically an alien. From an Edo villager's point of view, she is someone from a human world that feels almost as distant. There is also a very old story pattern hiding in here. Folklore loves strangers from the sea. It loves mysterious containers. It loves the one object nobody is allowed to open, touch, or explain. That box matters because it turns curiosity into taboo. A taboo is basically a rule with emotional security guards around it. You may not understand why you cannot touch the thing, but everyone agrees touching the thing would be a very bad afternoon. In one interpretation recorded with the tale, the woman is not a visitor from the stars at all. She may be a tragic exile, and the box may contain the head of a dead lover or husband. Grim, yes, not exactly beach vacation energy, but it is also revealing. The story's older logic reaches for romance, punishment, and sorrow long before it reaches for outer space. That does not solve it neatly, because experts do not all agree on what sits underneath the legend. Some think there may have been a real drifting craft, or castaway, that later became more dramatic in the telling. Some see it mainly as a literary strange tale, built from fears about foreigners and mysterious coastal arrivals. Some think it is a blend, which is usually how these things work in the wild. We do not have a clean chain of evidence from the beach to the page. We do have multiple retellings, visual illustrations, and a story that clearly meant something to the people passing it along. And then the 20th century arrives, dragging the flying saucer era behind it like a shiny metal suitcase. Once people are used to disc-shaped craft, unknown visitors, and unreadable markings, the old Utsuro-Bune drawings start looking different. Not new, different. What an Edo reader sees as a bizarre sea story, a modern UFO reader sees as an early close encounter. Same drawing, same woman, same boat. Entirely different mental software. That is the real transformation here. The mystery does not stay still. Culture keeps changing the lens. So was the Utsuro-Bune Japan's 1803 UFO mystery. In the modern storytelling sense, absolutely. Later audiences read it that way for obvious reasons. In the historical sense, probably not. The original tale fits much better inside Edo-period folklore, coastal rumor, and the uneasy fascination people felt toward outsiders. It is not solid proof of contact with aliens. It is something more interesting than that. It is a record of how human beings package the unknown using whatever images their own era already understands. The power of the Utsuro-Bune is not that it proves aliens visited Japan. It is that a 200-year-old coastal legend already contains the same emotional machinery as a UFO encounter. A strange craft arrives from outside the known world. The passenger cannot be understood. The object she protects cannot be touched. The community feels curiosity, fear, and responsibility all at once. Then it chooses distance over understanding. So the next time you see that drawing of the round boat on the shore, do not just ask whether it was real. Ask why it still works. In 1803, people looked at the sea and imagined a foreign mystery drifting toward them. Today, we look at the same story and imagine a visitor from the sky. The shape of the unknown changed. The feeling did not.